question is to the Minister, Mr. Shourie. Shourie, I think the BJP has been in government now for 6 years, and there are transactions at there are transactions at large Indian corporates, there are transactions at small organizations, and at a people or citizen level. I think, I'm a strong BJP supporter, but between technology solutions to interact with citizens and accountability, there are 8 or 15 transactions a citizen has with the government at high frequency that should be fixable fairly quickly. And therefore, my concern is that while we're all worried about a lot of activity across the board, for the common man, there are certain, I think, actions that, the government needs to take to deal with the issue. I think the country is fairly liberalized compared to most markets around the world now. So, what's the solution to actually say, okay, there are 20 transactions a citizen does with government, and how can that get fixed?
That's a very important point, because that is really the concern of the ordinary citizen, his interface with the state. And I can report that there's great progress being made in that. It's not the central government which really comes that much into contact with the citizen. But if you go, I'll recommend 3 things. For instance, the e-Seva project of Mr. Chandrababu Naidu in Andhra now provides about 70 services online. Services which the citizen takes. Similarly, the e-Bhumi project, Deepak was telling us about land records in Karnataka, is a great success. You just go there, within 10 minutes for any piece of land, you can get the entire history, all the title records, and that copy is as good as Telgi's stamp paper copy. Completely authentic, a legal document. Now, similarly, a wonderful thing to see is to go to the Pune Collectorate. It is an old British building of about 3-4 stories. And on the wall as you enter, when you are outside the building, on the wall are 97 things that are written. They made a survey, why do people come to this collectorate? They found there were 97 things for which people come: driver's license, death certificate, birth certificate, and so on. Now, for any one of those, you go, there's a touch screen, you just punch that number, you get the forms. You get a booklet for that as to what is the order in which you have to give the supporting documents. You come back, you were given a number, you don't meet anybody. You can come, it indicates the day on which you can come to collect your completed application. You file the application with the documents in that order. You don't meet anyone. If you want to inquire where your item is, you can just go touch that screen, give your number. They will say, yes, it is with Deepak. From Deepak's desk, it has gone to Arun Shourie's desk. And if I delay the matter, the software automatically informs the collector that at Arun Shourie's desk, this matter is pending for 3 days extra. Now, this kind of thing, I find experiments going on all over the country. And in 5 years, I would feel that, on your point, very substantial progress would have been made in decentralized ways in India.
Mr. Shourie, you are one of the few politicians who have been long-sighted rather than being myopic. After your assignment of disinvestment is completed, would you be willing to consider taking on an additional assignment of eradicating the myopia within the political system?
Sir, you will get me out of a job even sooner than I might otherwise be. Because all these, but I'm very glad to see your confidence in the fact that the government will come back to power after the elections. As to what assignments are given are entirely in the hands of the Prime Minister. And I'm sure the matter will be under his active consideration.
Okay, last question.
Yeah. Mr. Shourie, it is so refreshing to hear you. I have a small suggestion to make, not a question, and that is, if the government now comes back, or the party comes back with a major support from the people of this country, And since there is so much need of surgical reforms in the political system, my suggestion is that maybe the senior leaders of the party should actually get together, have a small task force before the ministry is made, and the ministry should be made from people of public eminence who have shown no political affiliations or inclinations and who have worked in the professional and corporate field. If that happens and if there is continuity for the next maybe few years, maybe there can be major changes which can take place in this in our country.
Sir, if I were to either endorse or repeat that particular suggestion, many persons will accuse them, the BJP, of a secret agenda of altering the Constitution of India. Hidden agenda of altering the Constitution. But I think that a great opportunity for this kind of a reform was missed by the Venkatachalaya Commission. They really devoted themselves to footnotery of existing provisions. They should really have looked at the entire structure. And among the things that have to be examined are this relationship of executive and legislature, which includes the catchment from which a prime minister or chief minister may draw ministers and others, the extent of their participation in the legislature. There are many intermediate models between the presidential system and what we have made of the parliamentary system today. But these are matters that require much greater, you see, you have to build up public opinion in these matters before, that is how the fruit has to be ripened, and then it will automatically come into somebody's hands. Otherwise, whenever an attempt is made by a fractured electorate can then be fooled into believing great conspiracies, even when small, good suggestions like this are put forward.
We had a choice, many of us had a choice between watching the batting of Sachin Tendulkar and both of you, and we are glad we are here. Great batting. So a small suggestion by myself also. Many people are saying these are the feel-good times. Many are saying they're not. Irrespective of who's saying what, we all feel that we want even better times. Just like you and your constituents have a minimum common program, can you and the counterparts of the other parties get together to have a minimum common understanding so certain things which you have mentioned in your speech, and Sir Professor, you have mentioned in your speech, and we know what is good for India, to make India shining and so on. If we can agree before the elections that, all right, whoever comes, most of us know who's going to win the elections, but irrespective of that, whoever comes to the party, the opposition party will not oppose to those minimum agenda points. I think India can make great progress. Thank you.
So that is the point to capitalize on. There is a consensus in practice on almost every issue in India, certainly in every issue relating to economic policy, with corrections of the kind, even on corrections of the kind that Deepak would want introduced. I think nobody would disagree. But the problem is this culture that if I am in office, whatever I do, you will shout at. When you are in office doing the same things, I will shout at. And all my attempts to get different political parties to agree on this point that Mr. Bajaj is making have come to naught. I'll give you an instance, and probably Nayan would ask us to end with that. Sir, in the Rajya Sabha, once Dr. Pranab Mukherjee was speaking, and he said that this government has no conceptual clarity at all. See, on labor reforms, the finance minister at that time, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, had said in his budget speech in February that government will bring forward a comprehensive labor reform bill. We are now in October, no conceptual clarity, no bill. So I said, I had been asked to reply on behalf of government, and I said that actually, I don't know about government, but I have complete conceptual clarity in this matter. So if you permit, I will read out clause by clause, the existing clause, the change that needs to be made. And if you approve by voice now, I will go to the Prime Minister in the evening with folded hands and say, sir, in cheezon par to we should bring a bill just now. So I will now read out. So I read, clause 5I says this. For such and such reasons, it should be this. Everybody shouted. Strike breaker, he broke Tatta Samant strike, he broke Indian Express strike. I said, okay, clause 7. Now in subsection C, it should be, it's this, it should be this. Again shouting. This happened about 6-7 times. Then I said, I must now tell you what I am reading. This is the industrial policy resolution of the Congress-I government in Maharashtra. When the Congress-I government put out this industrial policy resolution, the BJP and Shiv Sena brought Maharashtra to a halt on a one-day strike. Now, at your asking, I am reading the same thing and you are shouting at me, and then we are wondering why is China going ahead. So we should act on Mr. Bajaj's admonition. Thank you.
Okay.